Hey, 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 hey. Yeah, what is going on, people? What is going on? Sorry for my tardiness, y'all. You know, that 3 minutes of intro just is not long enough. And I know y'all gonna be like, Phil Teddy, that crap is too long. Listen, my fellow YouTubers know that when you going live, you need every extra second you can because you always forget something. You always got something going on that you forgot. You know, I'm just cracking open a carton of Welch's passion fruit. I'm gonna be a little ghetto. So just cracking open this carton. So this is what I'm drinking on today. Pour it in my good coffee mug and slowly sip on it. I'm probably gonna finish this whole thing, this whole life. What's going on, y'all? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me stop filibustering and get on to the get down, get down to the get down. Let me say hi to y'all in the chat. Hey Raphael, hey Yocrates, Cabs, what's good, boo? Volvo, Tabitha, Diz, what's up? Tracy, Karen, what's up? For my members, we had a good time yesterday, didn't we? Shout out to the members that was in the live yesterday. We had a good time. Mm. Oh God. Anyway, so y'all, um, today is politics of it all, and we're gonna get through these good stories. I don't have a whole lot today. You know why? agenda today is not extensive, but that just means more time to spike out. I'm just going to ignore this story that made its way into my inbox. Um, yeah, I'm going to ignore this story that found its way into my inbox. This story about a frozen penis over in Beijing, about this cross country skier who's now suffering from quote unquote frozen penis. We ain't gonna talk about that. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. I wish I had had that on Saturday because that would have been a perfect silly Saturday story. Maybe I'll do a run your mouth tomorrow or something like that. We could talk about it. Frozen penis. Yeah. Anyway, that sounds so painful. Shondo in and about the chat. Shondos to you all. Good morning, y'all. So it's a lot of sugar spiky stuff going on. Okay, let me start off with my Black History moments of the day. Um, listen, Tracy, doesn't it sound painful? What am I snacking on today? Almond Joy. Why? Because Almond Joy's got nuts. Mounds don't. The youngins don't even know that reference. They don't even know that old commercial with these are little snack size, fun size Almond Joy. But anyway, remember the old commercial? Almond Joy's got nuts, mouths don't. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. The kids, they don't know about that. That's old school. You got to be of a certain age to remember that old school commercial. I'm just saying. Hey, Yana. So, Black History Moment. We're gonna highlight real quick drops for our Black History moments today. So we're gonna highlight two Black people. The first one, they are both inventors. The first one is a beautiful Black queen by the name of Marie Van Britten Brown. Marie Van Britten Brown. Hey, Patty Duke. Marie Van Britten Brown invented the first home security system. In 1966, Brown filed to patent the invention that continues to influence modern security systems today. Her husband, Albert Brown, worked as an electrician technician while Marie worked as a nurse, both during non traditional hours in Queens, New York. The crime rate was very high in their neighborhood, which prompted Marie to increase the couple's personal home security. There were several trials of the new technology before Brown created a security button that would contact police immediately. Marie Brown's inventions are now the foundation for more technological security systems that are installed in apartments, homes, and businesses today. Marie Van Britten Brown. Yes. And our second person, his name is George Crumb. Now, it's so interesting that his last name is Crumb based on what he invented. Now, I had never heard of these two individuals, which is why it was news to me, and I was glad to bring it to you all. George Crumb. Here's the factoid about him. It says, I'm sorry, Marie Van Britten Brown was born 1922 and she died in 1999. Hey, Jason. And George Crumb was born 1824 and died 1914. It says George Crumb unintentionally created the potato chip. In 1853, Crumb, who was a chef and restaurateur, created the first potato chip as a response to a customer who sent back their fried potatoes, complaining they were too thick. A frustrated Crumb responded by cutting the potatoes as thin as he possibly could and frying them, which resulted in what we now know as potato chips. Unfortunately, the invention was never patented, which led to Crumb's ingenuity being appropriated and overtaken by the mass by the mass production and distribution of potato chips on a national scale. George Crumb, two black inventors, Marie Van Brittan Brown and George Crumb. Those are our two Black History factoids. Mm. All right, so let's get into these good politics. Now, I got some stories here, y'all, that are sure to make me spike the hell out. I mean, my I don't even think there's enough sugar in this whole house to help me regulate the amount of spiking that's about to happen with some of these stories. So I'm gonna just do the best I can to make it through. All right. Let me start off in my great state of Florida. Now, Tabitha, if you're still in the bushes, if you're still up in here, you're gonna find this very interesting, okay? Oh no, I'm sorry. Before I go there, before I go to Florida, before I go there, update on the Tesla situation. So remember, we've been talking about Tesla. We talked about the black man that won the money. We first talked about his lawsuit, then we talked about when he won, then we talked about the black lady who had racist things happen to her, and the fact that she was being discriminated against and harassed. Then we talked about the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing that was suing Tesla because of their racial practices and so forth. So now some of the details about what's going on at Tesla are starting to make their way out. Listen, y'all. Let me read y'all some of these details of what they got going on down to the Tesla. Okay. So this is according to the East Bay Times. Um, they reviewed the lawsuit and notes. Um, and some of this stuff goes back as early as 2012. Black and or African American Tesla workers have complained that production, I'm sorry, that Tesla, excuse me, production leads, supervisors, and managers constantly use the N-word and other racial slurs to refer to black workers. They have complained that swastikas, KKK, the N-word, and other racist writings are etched onto walls of the restroom. Let me say that again. Etched on the walls in the restroom. Hey, Egyptian goddess. Um, of the restroom stalls, the lunch tables, and even the factory machinery. We're talking about all types of racial epithets that are etched into the walls, into the bathroom stalls, into the lunch tables in the break room and in the lunchroom, and even into the factory machinery. That right, Tracy. They took their time. Hey, Nicole Stevens. A mess. Um, in the Department of Fair Employment and Housing suit, it also alleges that quote black and or African American workers are assigned to more physically demanding posts and the lowest level contract roles, paid less, and more often terminated from employment than other workers. They have also complained that Black and or African American workers are often denied advanced opportunities and more often and more severely disciplined than non-Black workers. That's according to the suit that's being filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Hey, peace, love. The suit also says, quote, a common narrative was Black and or African American workers being, hold on, being taunted by racial slurs and then baited into verbal and physical confrontations where they in turn were the ones disciplined for being purportedly aggressive or threatening. These written warnings in their personnel files had consequences for later promotional and professional opportunities. Now, hey, Lauren Bishop, this sounds exactly like what is going on in a whole lot of workplaces around the fruited plain, across the fruited plains. This ain't just a Tesla thing. Like that whole paragraph that we just read sounds very familiar to most of us in a whole lot of workplaces. It ain't just Tesla. I'm gonna read that again because this is just par for the course. This is just the norm. Let me read this paragraph one more. This is out of the suit that's being filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. It says a common narrative was Black and or African American workers being taunted by racial slurs and then baited into verbal and physical confrontations where they in turn were the ones disciplined for being purportedly aggressive or threatening. These written warnings in their personnel files had consequences for later promotional and professional opportunities. Stop me when y'all hear something that doesn't sound like something that y'all have been experiencing since you entered the workforce. A mess. A goddamn mess. Now Tesla done went out and denied all these allegations. Um they're calling the suit misguided. And the company goes on to say that it strongly opposes all forms of discrimination and harassment and has a dedicated employee relations team that responds to and investigates all complaints. Um, they went on to add that management has always disciplined and terminated employees who engage in misconduct, including those who use racial slurs or harass others in different ways. And here's how they try to do that. They will do that way after the fact, after they do a long, extensive, exhaustive investigation into it, where we're a year, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, and now they want to terminate those people. Mind you, during that time, y'all done kept these things on the Black people's personnel files and kept all of that stuff and impeded their growth and movement within the company and impeded them from promotions and stopped them from getting bonuses, and they left with the short end of the stick as well. Just a mess. Just a mess. Listen, I told y'all they got it going on down there to the Tesla. They got it going on. Y'all know the workplace is often rampant with all sorts of microaggressions, all sorts of little things that white people will do intentionally, deliberately, having full knowledge of what they're doing, but it's all the little subtleties, the little intonations and inflections, and the selective word choices, and the way in which they want to speak to you, and so forth. And then when you call them out, now they're looking baffled, befuddled, and like, what do you mean? I didn't do anything. How could that even? And then all of their other little white friends come in and say, that doesn't sound at all bad to me. How? Why would you assume that they were being racist, or why would you assume that that's a bad? Really? This what we doing? This what we doing? I don't even need to ask y'all to give out the bevy of different times that you've experienced that in the workplace, because we all have been there. We don't all experience this. We know what it is. We know what it's like. God forbid you're an educated black person in the workplace and you're good at your job. And when I mean good at your job, that means you're light years ahead of all of your white counterparts. Okay. You're way better than them, way more advanced than them, way more intelligent than them. God forbid you fall into that category, because you end up being the recipient of just an unsightly and unseen amount of racism and microaggressions and just blatant, flat out, just awful, horrible, discriminatory actions that happen to you in the workplace. Trust me, it ain't Tesla. Mind you, I need to. The reason we're talking about this in the politics of it all is your president, Joseph R. Biden, and all of the people over here touting that infrastructure bill is giving Tesla billions with a B dollars of American taxpayer money so that they can make new factories and find new ways to be racist and discriminatory in said factories. A mess. A mess. But they telling all y'all to run out there and buy you a Tesla. Oh yes, go buy a Tesla. So that way white people can have more, ways and mechanism with which to be racist. Dear God. I hope they have to pay the black people more hundreds of it. I'm glad the black man Owen, I think his name was Owen Diaz. I'm glad he got his 137 million. Let me hold some, bro. But I'm glad he got his, and I hope all other black people get theirs. Goddamn Tesla. Elon Musk is a horrible individual. Just an awful. I mean, it makes sense for it to be a company owned by Elon Musk. Can't really be who is over there during he was over there alive and thriving during the time of apartheid over there in South Africa where he's from. So I'm sure it's inbred into his DNA to be racist and discriminatory. Whatever. Just a mess. It's always swept under the rug because white people don't care. And then when you try to call black, I keep telling y'all this, black people are the only individuals who are not allowed to call out when other people do things to them. Every other marginalized group or minority, they are applauded. They're saying, yes, call it out. Yes, we applaud you for sticking up for yourselves and not allowing these horrible things to happen to you. They do it for the Hispanics or Latinx community. They do it for the Jewish community, the Asian community. They even, to a certain degree, do it more for the LGBTQIA plus community. But when black people decide that they want to call it out, what do you mean? That's not racist. Why are you always pulling the race card? That's what we're doing today. That's what we're doing. You got me on the big screen today, quintessential. Oh dear God. I hope I look all right. My skin look all right today. Yeah. It makes sure the skin and everything is popping today. But should oh, Taha, I appreciate that. I don't really use nothing but ivory soap. That's all. Just ivory soap. I keep saying I'm gonna get me a skin regimen and start to do that, but I just use the ivory soap. That's it. Quintessential. But that is my soap of choice, ivory. I've been a fan of ivory for a long time. In the California situation, they investigated for about 32 months to get concrete evidence and to get all their ducks in a row. I'm glad. I'm glad I saw that Tabitha, that they did the killers of Ahmaud Arbery were I mean, because it was a hate crime. I mean, there was no other way. Well, I let me take that back. Let me take that back. I was going to say there was no other way that they could find, but we know full well that in these yet to be United States of America, even with convictions, that doesn't mean a whole lot. See the trial over here with Dante Wright up in Minneapolis, where they got a conviction, and the judge gave this lady less than what is the accepted minimum number of a minimum amount of time for her to serve. A mess. But yeah, they were found guilty on all. Yeah, that had just came across my crawl. They've been found guilty on all charges from the Ahmaud Arbery. Okay, let me let y'all hear it. I do have some audio. It came across my feed just now. Let y'all hear it. Hopefully, a commercial doesn't play, and of course, a commercial plays. As soon as I say I hope a commercial does not play, what happens? We get a goddamn commercial. Dear God. But while this commercial is playing, the Tesla situation, as y'all can see, we're still monitoring. We are still trying to make sure that we keep y'all up to speed on that and abreast on that, because that's a large organization making a lot of money. And the American government is giving them a lot of money. All right, here we go.
The three men that are now before this court chased him in a residential neighborhood for at least 5 minutes in pickup trucks, armed with a shotgun and a .357 revolver. The state mentioned this today about the time period, but I do want to put that time period in context. And the only way I could think to do so may be a little theatrical, but I think it's appropriate. I want us all to get a concept of time. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit silently for 1 minute. And that 1 minute represents a fraction of the time that Ahmaud Arbery was running in Satilla Shores. That's approximately a minute. Again, the chase that occurred in Satilla Shores occurred over about a 5-minute period. And when I thought about this, I thought from a lot of different angles, and I kept coming back to the terror that must have been in the mind of the young man running through Satilla Shores.
That was a part of what the judge discussed. I thought the judge in this case has been very good about it. I wasn't even on YouTube. That was CNN, Tabitha. But I thought I really liked how the judge approached this case or whatever. Right. And I liked how this judge really just said, "No, I'm going. We're this is gonna happen. Okay, we're gonna do this." And so I'm just appreciative that we can sometimes have a moment of some semblance of justice in these yet to be United States of America. But too many times, other than this, we got to get the fuck shit like what we got going on in the great state of Minnesota. But I ain't gonna harp on Minnesota right now. What we're going to do is we're going to be happy. We're going to celebrate the fact that that we got convictions and so forth here for Ahmaud Arbery, and yeah, I am happy that this happened. Let's just hope that we can continue. Hey Hazel, with this and get more justice across the fruited plains because it's a mess. But that's breaking news. They were found guilty. The killers of Ahmaud Arbery were found guilty of hate crimes in addition to murder. Allegedly, Elon Musk told workers to be thick-skinned about harassment and not to read too much of child. A mess. The disparity in the price of black life and a white inconvenience are so grotesque that it's hard. It is. It's very grotesque. But I've been saying for a while they do not see us as equal members of the human species. Like they just really don't. They really don't. Matter of fact, they take the lives of their own pets and animals more seriously than they do the lives of us as black people. Let me keep on. Let me keep on. Let me try not to get sad. But that was a little breaking news. Breaking news. Um Also, an update. I told y'all I would be updating y'all on this story, and I am going to do that now. Update on Brian Flores and his situation with the NFL. Um, Brian Flores did end up getting a job as a defensive coach with the um, Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, Mike Tomlin is the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the only black head coach. Well, now there are two because Lovie Smith got the Texans job. And technically, if you want to consider Mike McDaniels black, you can, but he just told y'all for the Miami Dolphins he ain't black. He's just a human being with a black daddy. So he ain't black. That don't count. But anyway, I still believe that that has nothing to do with the lawsuit. The lawsuit is still credible. The lawsuit still holds weight, and I hope that he continues with the lawsuit. I hope that he continues with the lawsuit, and I hope he goes full throated into it and does not stop anything because the NFL, the plantation, has to have some type of accountability for their practices and the fuck shit that they did. Speaking of NFL, I was supposed to, Tabitha, I know I'm supposed to be going into the story about back home in Florida, South Florida. But before I get there, since I'm on the NFL and I gave you the update on Brian Flores, who does have a job in the NFL, let me give y'all this bit of fuckery. I had planned on bringing this to y'all. I thought about doing it in the on Silly Saturday, but I said no. We're gonna do this on the politics of it all. Cam's, I can't count Mike McDaniels because he said he ain't black. He said he's just a human being with a black daddy. So if the man say he ain't black, the man ain't black. I mean, I'm sure white people will remind him real quick that he is. So, uh, Lauren, if that is true, that Loretta Lynch is representing the NFL, that's one, unfortunate, and two, very calculated. We see what y'all doing here in NFL, and y'all ain't fooling nobody. It's unfortunate if Loretta Lynch is the one that's representing the NFL, even though the NFL has a whole stable of attorneys over there. Okay, the NFL has countless numbers of attorneys already that work for them, but that do this for a living. But magically, instead of getting one of your attorneys, you conveniently said, "Let me go and find Loretta Lynch, this black woman, and get her um, to represent us." Former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, member of Delta Sigma Theta Loretta Lynch, that Loretta Lynch, so she could represent the plantation, the NFL. That's unfortunate. But like I said, we see what you're trying to do. And just because you get Loretta Lynch to represent you doesn't mean that you're doing right by black people. Like, we're not stupid. Like, they just think that we're just stupid. A mess. Well, go ahead and get you something to snack on, because I'm about to go whole sugar spiky here. Since we down this road and talking sports and talking about the NFL, well, let's just go down this fucking road. Since we're here, I'm just letting you know that now. I'm about to spike the fuck out and have a whole fucking meltdown. So if you got a problem with me having a meltdown, just go ahead and click off now, because I'm gonna have a whole meltdown here. Why? Because I have to discuss my frat brother again, Colin Kaepernick. So let me read this for you, because we're going to talk about what Michelle Tafoya had to say and all of her foolishness and fuck shit she got going on during Black History Month. Bring it down, L. Teddy. Bring it down. All right. Let's discuss. All right. Now, this story I found, this is an opinion piece about, and this is by Mike Freeman, who I love. Mike Freeman. If you don't know Mike Freeman is a sports journalist. He is black, great writer, and so forth. So this is his opinion piece, and I'm going to read it for you. This is after he wrote this after hearing Michelle Tafoya's um comments. Okay. I don't care about Michelle Tafoya's political beliefs. I don't care if she's conservative, liberal, or a Klingon. None of that matters. What does is that Tafoya has decided to use the substantial goodwill she built up as a sideline reporter for NBC Sunday Night Football and taken a giant step into the culture wars by repeating a falsehood about one of the most important sports figures of our time. Tafoya's story and the fiction she tells about Colin Kaepernick is important because it's instructive about how, in some segments of our media and society, truth and actual history are irrelevant. The only thing that matters to some is dogma. Tafoya was recently on Sirius XM's The Megyn Kelly Show in a segment called The Truth About What Happened to Colin Kaepernick's NFL career. Quote, you can't have everything in your life. I'm sorry, you can't have everything your way in this life, Tafoya said. You work your way around and through the obstacles. If he really, really wanted the one thing he wanted Megan in this life was to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He'd be one right now, given that he had the talent. But he made some business decisions, and I think he knew what he was risking. And I think there are legitimate complaints about race in the NFL and everywhere else in America. But that's not why Colin Kaepernick is not in the NFL. This is completely false, absolutely positively false. Normally, what a sideline reporter says isn't something we should care about, but Tafoya is different. She's established a great deal of credibility in her decades on the job. She left NBC this year. Someone like Megyn Kelly, who once said Santa Claus could only be white, or Tucker Carlson, who also had Tafoya on his show and who openly spouts a white nationalist propaganda, would see Tafoya as valuable. She agrees with some of their extremist views, and she's an NFL expert. Tafoya, however, either doesn't know how wrong she is about Kaepernick, or knows and doesn't care. Kaepernick was blackballed by the NFL after he started the league's protest movement. The blackball went on for years. These are established facts. These aren't opinions or both sides or do the research, Todd. Every Everyone who covered the NFL extensively, like Tafoya did, knows Colin Kaepernick was blackballed. It is something that many in the NFL itself, both coaches and executives, have privately admitted for years. Kaepernick and Eric Reed, who started the protest alongside Kaepernick, sued the NFL and the case was settled. Commissioner Roger Goodell, following the murder of George Floyd, essentially apologized to protesting players and even to Kaepernick for not listening to them sooner. Tafoya using the phrase business decision is something those of us who covered the Kaepernick story from the beginning have heard from the right wing critics many times before. It's that because Kaepernick made decisions to produce a Netflix series about his youth, he was giving up football, and it goes on and on and on. Now Tafoya, and I'm stop there. I just wanted to give y'all some context, okay? Now, the reason Tafoya is talking about this, let me give you all some of the history here. See, when Colin Kaepernick protested and so forth, and we all know the history of the protest itself and how he wasn't even kneeling at first. He was actually taking a seat, and one of his fellow players on the 49ers at the time said, well, this is before anybody even knew he was protesting. Nobody even paid attention to him sitting down at all when he was sitting, because he had been sitting down for several um, games at that point. Nobody even noticed. Nobody said anything. Mind you, half of the stadium is also sitting down during the goddamn national anthem. That's a whole nother story. One of his fellow players, who's a military vet, said, "Hey, some people might, have an issue with you, sitting down during that. Why don't you just take a knee?" Kaepernick, and that, won't be disrespectful. Kaepernick, who, respected his teammate as a vet, said, "You know what? I'll do that." And he did that with, and Eric Reed started to do it with him. And then people noticed it and they were like, "No, we don't like the, and they didn't even know why he was doing it. You know how many people over the history of time have taken a knee during the national anthem and nobody has said anything? But it wasn't until someone asked him why he was taking a knee and he explained why he was taking a knee. That is when taking a knee became a problem, because they didn't like the fact that he was protesting the police. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. The reason that she is calling it a business decision is because what happens at the end of that season, Colin Kaepernick was up for free agency. Colin Kaepernick decided that, hey, let me, instead of just signing on again for the 49 with the 49ers, Let me just, see what I can get in free agency, which is his right as a player. But at that point, the ball was rolling. And so when she's saying he's made a business decision, she's neglecting the fact that they had already said to owners and GMs, do not put him on the staff. The If anything, um, what she's alluding to is that he helped them out to be racist, because had he stayed with the 49ers and decided that he was just going to re-sign his contract instead of trying to get more money in his contract, he probably would still be playing. But he decided to do which was his right at the time. You know, look into free agency, try to get a new contract and get more money, and they blackballed him, and they continued to do that. And there were whole lawsuits with evidence in court, which is why the NFL so quickly tried to settle. It wasn't a settlement because the NFL was not guilty. It was the NFL saying, oh, yes, there's a whole lot going on here, and we don't want no parts of all of this horrible stuff getting out there into the free space. And that's why they so quickly tried to settle. That's why that whole committee that they have with Troy Vincent and everything, and all of those, what's the other player name? His last name's Jenkins. I can't think of his first name. Eric Reed came right out and told us that was a whole farce. Like nothing was really happening in those committees. It was the day to go golfing. That they were supposed to try to talk about race and race relations in the NFL. That was a whole farce. They started, even though Eric Reed got back in the league, Eric Reed was on that committee at first, and when he found out it was a farce, he quit it, and then they tried to give him money to be quiet about it. This is all documented. This is truth. This is nothing that. So for Michelle Tafoya and see, that's what he was talking about in the article. The fact that Michelle Tafoya, who worked as a sideline reporter for years and years and years down there, and now she's going on all of the conservative fucktards spaces, Megan Kelly's, and Tucker Carlson's, and all of these fucktards and ass clowns. She's doing her, parade around, racist nation, and gonna put her name on somebody like Colin Kaepernick. Oh, he made a business. If he wanted to work in the NFL, he would. Really? Really, Michelle Tafoya? That's really what you think, right? Even when they had that farce of remember a couple of years ago they had a workout for Colin Kaepernick, and they had scouts and teams come out there, and you had stupid assholes like Stephen A. Smith that wanted to call, oh, well, why does he have to have it this way? Oh, well, why does he have to have it that way? He should just be happy that they gave him something. He should be happy that they're coming to see him. He shouldn't want it his way. It ain't his NFL. He should. This is why all skin folk ain't kinfolk. This is why. This is why we have to have people who are more understanding of what's really happening in these spaces. Because what happens is now Michelle Tafoya is about to parade herself around any media outlet she can over there on the other side. And they're going to be listening to her as if what she's saying is gospel truth. They're going to be listening to her as if it is etched in stone. Mind you, everything she's saying is a lie, is untrue. Everything. But she's going to be seen as the expert. She's going to be the, oh, well, you spent X amount of years over there on sidelines and speaking to players and speaking to coaches and NFL execs. So nobody knows more about this than you, Michelle Tafoya. And then she unleashes a bevy of lies. Really, Michelle Tafoya? Really? You do see what's happening here, right? This is another member of a marginalized group, Michelle Tafoya, who is Hispanic. who decides to say, yeah, us down here, we, long as it ain't us, we don't mind keeping y'all down too. Because there's a whole lot of Latin and Tabitha, if you're in the bushes, you can come on out. You know, just like I know, it's a whole lot of Latinx people. I ain't say it all, but it's a whole lot of Latinx and a whole lot of Hispanic people that would love to see black people continue to be, oppressed and continue to be subjugated while they rise and get their own version of their own supremacy and privilege. Hey, Kamisha. Michelle Tafoya is an example of a lot of Hispanics and Latinx people that have no problems with black people being subjugated and oppressed and being victims of all kinds of racism and discrimination, and they will proliferate that. If it means that they can have a come up, if it means that they're looked at more favorably in the eyes of white people, oh, they have no problems lying on black people, doing everything they can to make black people look way worse because they think that's going to make them look better. Mind you, it does not help your cause, Michelle Tafoya. You're a part of two marginalized groups. You're a woman and you are Latinx. But you over here, and instead of understanding and seeing what the fuck is going on, you over here with your level brand of fuck shit and fuckery. Oh, he would have a job if he wanted to have a job. Really, Michelle Tafoya? Really, Michelle Tafoya? Because you came along with Michelle Tafoya after a whole lot of people before you had to do a lot of dirty work to get you to where you are. Michelle Tafoya, you got. I'm trying, y'all, not to go in on Michelle Tafoya. I'm trying, but she ain't making it easy, okay? She is not making it easy, okay? Let's be clear. Michelle Tafoya, had it not been for Pam Oliver, you would not have a job. Black woman, black queen, Pam Oliver. Let's just be brutally clear. And people have said some things about Pam Oliver, but um, Pam Oliver and all of her black beauty and black greatness made way for a whole lot of the female sideline reporters, especially minority ones. Because if you recall, Pam Oliver was one of the first female sideline reporters that was a minority. And what happened was how she got her rise was this a little known moment. Michael Irving, who was playing for the Pam Oliver is a graduate. She went to FAMU. She went to FAMU. Well, Pam Oliver um, was a sideline reporter, and she wasn't getting any airtime or anything. And Michael Irvin, who was a starting wide receiver and superstar for the Dallas Cowboys at the time, who were winning Super Bowls, said, "I'm not doing any sideline reporting unless I get Pam Oliver." He was in love with Pam Oliver, and with that being said, ESPN hired Pam Oliver, and she became the sideline reporter. This is way back in 1993, and that's how you start. Now, Michelle Tafoya didn't come and start working because I think she started with CBS. It wasn't until like a year or two after that because they wanted to be able to compete with, oh, they used to call, black and Hispanic people exotic back then and all of that stuff. And so because ESPN put Pam Oliver on the sideline that had her interviewing um, Michael Irvin and stuff like that, here comes Michelle Tafoya like a couple years later, like a year or two later, and stuff like that. But let's be clear. Without black people, a lot of Latinx people don't have anything in this country. Let's just be brutally honest. And I'm not painting all Latinx and Hispanic people with a broad stroke, but there's a good amount of them that want no parts of seeing our black asses do good. I'm just being honest. But you got a whole lot to say. But you got a because and what's so disingenuous is the fact that she did work in the NFL or no, I mean work in and around the NFL for all of those years, and she was privy to all of the conversations, and she heard all of the things that were being said about Colin Kaepernick. So she knows full well and is choosing to lie and choosing to ignore because she's full of shit. The bitch ain't shit. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna put it out there. She ain't shit. And if you think by you going over here and seeing all of this stuff um about what happened with Colin Kaepernick is going to get you any brownie points with these white ass racists over here, you are reaching because given the chance and given the opportunity, they will throw your ass right on under the bus if they want, and they will drive over you back forth, back and forth. A mess. A goddamn mess. And see, people don't even know the story. See, and I hate that people that black people oftentimes get looked over because people will look at Pam Oliver as if she's the one that started the sideline reporting. No, not Pam Oliver, at Michelle Tafoya, as if she's the one who started it all, and we need to be going to her. No, she need to be acquiescing and bowing down to Black Queen in the form of Pam Oliver, but she ain't gonna tell you that. They'll never want to tell you how it's black people who oftentimes have to bear the brunt of all of the harshness of racism and discrimination and all type of bigotry, and we have to be the ones on the front lines every time to take those battle scars and wounds and everything, only for the other races and marginalized groups to be behind us, like, okay, yeah, y'all going on out there, y'all get it, and and then when we wedge the door and bust open the door, now they want to come and run in front of us and go to mass and say, hey, yeah, it was them, that wasn't us. Go ahead and let us in here. Y'all don't get me stuck. I'm trying, y'all. I'm really, really, really trying. Whew. Even if your politics are different, what you're not going to do, Michelle Tafoya, is throw around lies when the facts are there. You cannot just be throwing out lies as if they're the truth. If you want to be politically conservative or do all of that stuff, that's fine. That's why we can have political discourse and so forth. The problem that I have with so many people is the lies that they want to tell, just blatant and outright lies. And they hold on to these lies as if they're the truth, knowing that they're lies. And they started to believe the lie. And the problem is people who don't know that it's a lie start to believe the lie like it's the truth. And then the truth becomes a lie and the lie becomes the truth. And now we have what we have going on today, a whole dystopian society, which is what we got going on today. A mess. Michelle Tafoya ain't shit. She ain't shit. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all about the fact that in Tesla, they had also drawn a noose on one of the walls, and it took them several months before they actually got the noose removed. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that part of the Tesla story, that they had a noose that they had drawn, a big noose they had drawn on one of the walls, and Tesla was like, oh, just let that stay there for a couple months. Nothing to see here. All right. Hey, BR Burns. We here now. We're just moseying along. We just spiking out, y'all. So if you were the stuff that we have been screaming about, y'all, my next story is the fact that the stuff that we've been screaming about, y'all, we've been hey Danny, we've been blathering about, bloviating about for the last few months or so. Oh, it's happening now. It's already happening. And it's happening under the Dems' watch. And the Democrats are going to have a reckoning coming to them because you allowed this fuck shit to happen under your watch and you did nothing. Let me tell y'all what I'm talking about. Let me read this article. The headline. Let me read the headline of this article because this is what we've been warning you about and it's happening right now. Y'all know it's primary season, right? It's primary season in a lot of states. Let me read this headline for y'all. This headline says GOP law blamed as nearly 40% of mail-in ballots rejected in Houston area. Let me read that again. GOP law blamed as nearly 40% of mail-in ballots rejected in Houston area. So much going on there. That's almost half the mail-in ballots. We already know most of the mail-in ballots are Democratic. Most of the mail-in ballots are Democrat votes. We know that. Conveniently, this is in Houston. Houston is the largest metropolitan area in the great state of Texas. The bluest of blue areas in Texas. Let me read this article. As early voting continues in Texas's primary election, pro-democracy advocates are sounding the alarm over the high rate at which mail-in ballots are being rejected as a result of the GOP's newly enacted voter suppression law. Election officials in Harris County said they had returned almost 2,500 of the 6,548 mail-in ballots received as of Saturday due to cumbersome new ID rules. A rejection rate of nearly 38% in Texas's most populous county, a Democratic stronghold that includes Houston and more than 2.4 million voters. Hey, Lamone, what's good? Civil rights advocates have pointed to a record number of mail-in ballot rejections during the opening days of early voting in Texas's 2022 primary as evidence of the effectiveness of the Republican Party's draconian voter suppression law, Senate Bill 1. Quote, mail ballots are people's votes, Isabel Longoria, the Harris County elections administrator, told NPR on Tuesday. So I am very concerned not just with the complexity of the process, but how that added complexity is going to increase the number of mail ballots that we have to reject. Texas already had some of the nation's most restrictive voting rules, but last year the GOP-controlled state legislature and the Republican governor Greg Abbott, Governor Hot Wheels, approved sweeping changes, including new ID requirements for mail-in ballots, a ban on drive-through voting, and limits on counties' ability to expand voting options. The critics warned would make voting even harder. Emerging data shows those worries were warranted. Texas only allows people who are 65 and older, disabled, out of town, or in jail to vote by mail. Under Senate Bill 1, the ID used to request a return a mail-in ballot, whether it is a driver's license number or partial social security number must match what is on the voter's registration card. This requirement has already derailed thousands of voters who don't remember which ID they used to register, often several years ago, when requesting mail in ballots. As of 1 month ago, roughly half of mail in voting applications have been rejected in Travis County, Texas's fifth largest county, and home of the state capital, Austin. Now, y'all see what's going on there? You went and registered to vote. If it's like Florida, Florida, I think your junior year in high school. I remember I was a junior in high school. We were in American or U.S. history, and they gave everybody in the class an application, a voter registration application. We all filled it out. We turned it in, and when we turned 18, we all got our voter registration cards. Now, I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that was, but if you're telling me that I need to remember, because they probably have like a blank. You know they be trying to fool people. Y'all see what's going on here? They got a blank. Put in the number that proves who you are. It could be your social security number. It could be your driver license number. Maybe it's some other magical number we don't know. And you're like, I don't remember which one it is. I don't know which one I gave. Did I give you my driver license number? Did I give you my voter registration? I mean, my social security number. Did I give you some other mythical number that you told me to give you? But if the one that I give you isn't the one that you originally gave you, that you originally gave, I don't care if that is the right number. Like, say if you gave your driver license number, but you gave them the last, but on the paper you fill out, you give them the social security, your last for your social, they're gonna be like, sorry, your vote don't count. But it's still me. Y'all see what's going on here, right? Y'all see what's happening. Y'all see what's happening here, right? Y'all see what's happening here, right? Just a mess. A mess. Let me keep reading. The Texas Tribune reported late last week that even counties that saw few request rejections are now grappling with high rates of faulty ballots. That includes Hayes County, where about 30% of the voters who had already returned their mail-in ballots had not filled out the ID requirement, noted the Tribune. Those are early figures, as ballots are only starting to trickle in. So Jennifer Anderson, the county's elections administrator, is hoping voter outreach efforts will help curb more errors. We usually have a very low rejection rate, so it's not something we want to see in Hayes County, said Jennifer Anderson. The Tribune added that other suburban counties are seeing similar rates. Election officials in Williamson County said that about 30% of completed ballots were missing ID numbers. According to the newspaper, the ID requirement forced a redesign of the carrier envelopes used to return mail-in ballots, allowing them to be sealed in a way that protects the voters' sensitive information while traveling through the mail. The ID field is placed under the envelope flap, but based on early figures, local election officials this week said they feared voters were missing it altogether. So it sounds like they're putting the ID part in a place where people don't even see it and don't even know that they're supposed to write on that part because it's underneath the envelope flap. A mess. A mess. While voters are permitted to fix ballot issues, the window to do so is narrow and rapidly closing, with Election Day just 2 weeks away. Officials expect to see more mistakes between now and March 1st, when the vast majority of mail-in ballots arrive. Whether voters are made aware of errors in a timely manner depends in large part on the existence of resources that are widely across that vary widely across Texas's 254 counties. As the Tribune explained, defective ballots must be sent back to voters if they arrive early enough to be sent back and corrected. If officials determine there's not enough time, they must notify the voter by phone or email. Voters must then visit the election office in person to correct the issue or the state's new online ballot tracker to verify the missing information. Obviously, obviously, the main concern I think with most election officials is that people that receive ballots by mail may not have the ability to come to the clerk's office. Heather Hawthorne, the county clerk of Chambers County, told the newspaper. After Governor Hot Wheels, Governor Abbott, signed Senate Bill 1 into law in September, rights groups took legal action arguing that the changes would disproportionately impact the poor, the elderly, people with disabilities, and people of color. The Biden Justice Department also filed a lawsuit alleging that the new restrictions violate the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act. Although parts of Senate Bill 1 have been temporarily blocked in the courts, much of the Texas GOP's anti-voter law is now in effect. Amid the state's first major election since the legislation was enacted, the potential for disenfranchisement is becoming increasingly apparent, according to on-the-ground reports. And it goes on and on and on. Now, y'all see what's happening here, right? Y'all see what's going on. We told y'all this was coming. We've been screaming about this. And the Dems are over there with their thumbs up their ass, kowtowing to ass clowns like the Joe Manchins and Kirsten Cinemas of the world. Y'all around here, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer's telling the progressives, oh, go sell that the infrastructure bill is a win for us, is a win for us. But you're losing in the most important things like voters' rights, which is how you people stay in power. That's the mind-blowing thing. You would think, see, the Republicans saw what was going on. They say, oh, we lose power from the ballot box. Yeah, let's go ahead and change these laws. Because what we're not going to do is acquiesce and concede power to these people on the left. So what Republicans said was, yeah, we're going to put the ballot box in our favor. All the while they're doing that, the Dems are over here fucking around trying to say that things that are not victories are actually victories. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, y'all taking L's all over the place in voting rights. So we got Texas, which is what's Texas, the third largest state? I think Texas is number 3 or 4 in terms of population in America, somewhere around there. I think it's California, New York, Texas, Florida. I think that's the 4. Anyway, a mess. Let me see what y'all saying. Danny says, I want everyone to go to the DMV and update your voter registration seriously, or contact the election administration to confirm prior to voting. Between this functionary and gerrymandering, stop it. Listen, it's a lot going on. Y'all see what's going. It's back to like the poll tax. It's back to Jim Crow errors when they were trying all types of nefarious ways to stop us from voting. They're trying to stop us from voting. Conveniently put in the spot where you're supposed to put your voter the ID number or whatnot, in a place where, oh, I didn't even see that. I didn't even know that was there. Mind you, they just talked about, one, are they going to be able to get it to mail it back to the people in time? And if they can't, they got to tell the people to come out there. Many of these people may not have access to vehicles or transportation to get all the way out to the election office. They might be out of town or anything of that nature. Then you're talking about, if it ain't enough time, they got to call these people or send them an email. One, how many people don't pick up phone calls from numbers that they don't recognize? 2, if it's an email, who's to say that email won't go to the spam folder? Because I know the way my email is set up, if I ain't already got you in my contacts, 9 times out of 10 it's going to spam. My personal email, I should say. So This is what we got going on. This is happening. And y'all know I always say, you see what happens? You see the blueprint and model in one state? That means that it's about to start trickling down to all of the other states. Y'all already know the Bible Belt is already, this is going to start happening because all of those states, plus all of these sweeping laws, they are taking it away from us in plain sight. I keep saying that, Danny. I keep saying we're living in some dystopian novel that we didn't know about. Like this is Fahrenheit 451. Like what? We're going back to ninth grade, eighth or ninth grade when we read Fahrenheit 451, and now that's what we've been put in. These things are happening. Hey, court documents. I am so afraid. Listen, y'all know I've been screaming this since last year. This midterm election is about to be a bloodbath. It's about to be sweeping red all over the country. It's about to be a bloodbath. And Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Biden and Harris are over there fucking around, but they know it's coming. They know it's about to be a bloodbath. They know full well. Mitch McConnell is over there foaming at the mouth, waiting for November. Mitch McConnell is foaming at the mouth, waiting. A mess. This is happening. This is not a drill. Oh, this is for real this time. This is not a drill. This is happening. We gotta do some people. I got two more stories. I'm finally, Tabitha, going to get to the story from back home. Okay. Now, why am I giving y'all a story from South Florida? Because, like I tell y'all, these things happen in one area, and then it goes to other areas. So we need to be aware when these things happen. Now, not only are they trying to take us back to our parents and grandparents' time with regard to voting rights and so forth, they're also trying to send us back to our parents and grandparents' time with regard to land, black ownership, and black neighborhoods. Now, this is a story from South Florida. South Florida, not just South Florida, but the bluest county is now South Florida is Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. Okay, those three counties, Miami-Dade County, Broward County, and Palm Beach County. Of those three, Broward County is the bluest of those three. Matter of fact, Broward County is the most blue state in the entire state of Florida. Out of all of the states in Florida, Broward County is the most Democrat leaning and voting of all counties. It's considered one of the more liberal counties. Now, according to the research that I've done, there is a proposed $450 million bridge that they're about to build in Broward County that will run right through the oldest black neighborhood in Broward County over there by Sistrunk. Now, if you've ever been to Broward County, you got Sistrunk, which is a street in Broward County named after um, a black man who created the first, who he built the first black hospital. Dr. James Franklin Sistrunk is his name. He built the first black hospital in Broward County, and so that area became like the black neighborhood in Broward County. So let me read this article. But Tabitha, you know where Sistrunk is, over there by Dillard High School and all of that. So that's the black area in Broward County. It says an NBC News report says, I'm sorry, let me Read the beginning. It says, if approved, a $450 million bridge will cut through a historic black community in Florida and possibly undermine its redevelopment. The 2 mile long bridge is one of several plans under consideration by the Florida Department of Transportation. However, the potential for harm to the historic Sistrunk community has residents worried. According to the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency, Sistrunk is Fort Lauderdale's oldest black community, one comprised of working families, mom and pop small businesses, historic churches, and landmarks. The neighborhood is in the midst of ongoing redevelopment. An NBC report says the city's mayor, Dean Trantalis, has indicated that a bridge crossing the New River in downtown Fort Lauderdale in order to alleviate traffic congestion is not desired by residents or current and future business owners. If you build a bridge, you are furthering the separation between communities, and we don't want that, he said. We are trying to tear away those divisions and artificial barriers that have kept us apart for so many decades. The plan is reminiscent of the eminent domain policies that for years destroyed communities across the nation in the name of progress. In Detroit, for example, a highway cut through the historic Hastings Street district in the 1960s. Funds from President Joe Biden's new infrastructure bill are expected to remove the highway starting this year, according to CBS Detroit. In Florida, the community named after Dr. James Franklin Sistrunk, the founder of the county's first black hospital, has become a hub for culture and art in Fort Lauderdale. Sistrunk is now a bustling um, enclave where events and parades are hosted. You are going to crush the redevelopment, something that's been planned for years. No developer wants to have a train bridge next to their building. It will crush the life out of these developments. The Florida Department of Transportation says it is getting feedback from the community. The report notes that Broward County Commission has the final say on the projects and will vote this spring on the local preferred option, followed by hearings that will take place this fall. So let me give you some of the history of what's going on. Um, Not a Queen Sugar episode. Florida built high-speed railing um some years ago now. It's been a few years now, maybe about 5 or 6 years now, but they built high-speed railing. They want to move that high-speed railing into some of the communities, from what I understand. So this bridge that they're building would not just be for traffic or whatnot, it would be for the rail or whatnot. And so it like they said, it would displace buildings and some houses and so forth. And like the mayor was saying, it would divide communities. You know, they love to put a railroad up and say, yeah, you on that side of the tracks, I'm on this side of the tracks. They've been doing that for years. It also speaks to what our grandparents and some of our parents had to deal with eminent domain. Now they talked about Detroit. We know in South Florida alone, when I-95 came through Miami-Dade County, I-95 displaced all of not all, but most of the Overtown residents. Overtown, being a black part of Miami at the time, had mainly single family homes. People don't know that because when they go to Overtown, they see projects and stuff like that. Now, here's a little known fact. Some of the first major projects, when you do history, started there because when they in a lot of these communities where they were displacing African American people, because they had to find somewhere to house these people in a smaller space. They didn't want them to spread to other areas and infiltrate their white areas. So they wanted to keep them in the same space, but take away their land and property. So since they had less land and property to deal with, instead of going wider, they went higher. And so they started building these um, housing developments and projects and whatnot. And so that way they could house more black people in a smaller area. And thus we got the housing projects. And so this comes because of all of the money that came from the infrastructure bill. Remember how much I kept telling y'all the infrastructure bill was not a win? That wasn't a win. It looked like, remember I told you Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer them tried to sell it as a win, but now we're seeing the ramifications. Now we're seeing, oh, we got extra money. Well, let's just go ahead and just use this money to send, you know, bridges and stuff to break up the black community over there because they doing too much. Y'all redeveloping over there. Y'all doing too much over there. We don't need none of that redevelopment over there. We don't want no parts of that. Keep it moving. Y'all don't want to keep it moving. Fine. We'll build this bridge. It ain't no bridge over troubled water. I can tell you that. A mess. A mess. So now I will say the mayor looks like he's fighting against it. Um, we'll see how the city commission votes on it. I bring it up because this infrastructure bill means that you could have this stuff that's going to take place in other areas. So you need to be read your local newspapers. Go to hey Monk Chip, hey boo, I ain't seen you in a minute. Um, read your local newspapers and and your local media outlets, especially some of those smaller newspapers that tend to really do some real investigative reporting. For example, in Miami, we have the Miami Times, which does a much better job at reporting sometimes than the Miami Herald. Anyway, they a lot of times will let you know what's going on with some of these things and so forth. So you could have this going on in your own city. You could have them getting ready to, break up the black neighborhood in your own city because now they have all of this extra money with the infrastructure bill. So look out. Just putting that out there so y'all know what is going on. Since we're in Florida, our last story will stay here. Excuse me, in Florida, America's nutsack. So we had Florida with the anti-gay bill, the anti-LGBTQ plus bill, the Don't Say Gay bill. So now we got this part of it. The bill is now becoming even more dangerous because now teachers and school administrators will have to out students now. They'll be forced to out students. Let me read this article. Advocates for civil rights are sounding the alarm after a Republican lawmaker in Florida filed an amendment to House Bill 1557, dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill by critics, that would require schools to out LGBTQ students, even if educators believe the disclosure will result in abuse, abandonment, or neglect. Let me read that again for you all in the back. Because I told y'all this was I've been saying this, I've been screaming it. Let me read that again for the back, for the people in the back. Advocates for civil rights are sounding the alarm after a Republican lawmaker in Florida filed an amendment to the bill, House Bill 1557, dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill by critics, that will require schools to out LGBTQ students, even if educators believe that disclosure will result in abuse, abandonment, or neglect. I don't even know if I need to read any further. What do y'all want me to do with that? What do y'all want me to do with that? What am I supposed to do with that? Let me read on. Let me read on. A mess. House Bill 1557 and its companion Senate Bill 1834 would effectively prohibit teachers from discussing sexual orientation and gender identity in primary grades or at any level, quote, in a manner that is not age appropriate, end quote, a term that remains undefined. It would also require all school district trainings on student support services to adhere to the guidelines, standards, and frameworks established by the Florida Department of Education, which currently excludes anti bullying resources meant to help prevent LGBTQ youth suicides. Oh, yes, because they've taken out all of the anti bullying resources. I forgot to mention that. Yeah. We don't need no parts of anti bullying resources for LGBTQ. So we don't need any parts of that. We don't need any parts of that. Let me continue. Florida's Don't Say Gay bill, advanced by the state's GOP controlled Senate Education Committee and House Education and Employment Committee, endorsed by far right Governor Ron Death Sentence, was already the subject of nationwide criticism before its House sponsor, Representative Joe Harding, filed his amendment on Friday. While the legislation originally allowed school personnel to withhold information about a student's sexual orientation or gender identity from a parent if a reasonable, prudent person would believe that disclosure would result in abuse, abandonment, or neglect, Harding's amendment states that, quote, the school principal or his or her designee shall develop a plan using all available governmental resources to disclose such information within 6 weeks after the decision to withhold such information from the parent. I love the fact that they put in there using all available governmental resources, seeing as how they're removing all government resources that have to deal with how to deal with LGBTQ youth, what to do with them, and what and how to help them. They're removing all of this from the government. All of those governmental resources are being removed, but they're telling them to use the government resources to help them when they got to go and tell some parents about their child that may fall in the LGBTQIA plus spectrum, and now that child may be the victim of abuse, abandonment, or neglect. Because we know there's a whole lot of households where there's a whole lot of parents want no parts of their child being in the Rainbow Coalition. There's a whole lot of abuse that goes on, a whole lot of abandonment, a whole lot of get out of my house and find a way and go live on the streets, a whole lot of neglect. You ain't eating my food. I paid for that food and you gonna go and do that? Go buy your own. Do I need to remind you? See, I told y'all when this stuff, remember months ago when we were talking about this happening in Texas? And I told y'all, yep, that's the blueprint. They about to start doing it in other states. And now we have it. I I don't even need to read the rest of this article. This is disheartening to say the least. Okay, and I can't even be angry about it because I'm so disheartened about it. Um, I'm so fearful for the LGBTQ youth in some of these areas who school is their only outlet. or their only safe space. Oh yeah, I should also tell you that they're making teachers remove. In schools they have teachers can put on their door or in their window. There's a little logo or emblem that symbolizes it being a safe space for LGBTQ plus youth. They're no longer allowed to use those things in the schools anymore. And so my point is, a lot of times these children, are the subject of abuse and neglect and abandonment and all types of other mental duress that they have to endure. And their only place that they can go sometimes to try to figure things out or try to be in a safe space is school. And now you're removing that from them. So now you're removing all of the anti-bullying resources from the schools. You're removing all of the mental health resources for these kids from the school. So now, what do you expect to happen? Like, you're gonna have kids that are more and more deciding to end it all. You're gonna have more and more kids that are deciding, okay, I got to find a way to make it and live. Do you know this is, and I'm not going to paint it with a broad stroke, but a large number of our trans sisters end up having to get into sex work and things like that because they are kicked out of the house as children. And then to add insult to injury, a lot of places won't hire them because they're trans. So then they end up having to, try to work the beat and maybe do some prostitution or maybe get OnlyFans or subject themselves to other industries that involve sex work. Not that there's a problem with sex work, but what I'm saying is it opens them up to a lot of situations where they end up being victims of violence and they end up getting killed, and you have atrocities happening all over the fruited plains. You also have these youths. I just remember as a child, I vividly remember being a teenager and what my mental state was like and what I was enduring as a not knowing what was happening with what I was feeling, what was happening with what I was thinking, coupling that with what I was being taught in church or in the house or what my friends had going on and so forth. Because a lot of, back in the day, many of us who were in the community, we had straight friends. Those were our friends. And so we a lot of times didn't want to disclose what we were experiencing and going through for fear of ridicule, for fear of whatever backlash that could happen. And so you end up internalizing all of this. And I thought it was such a great thing after I got out of high school. And as I got older, I started to see as a teacher the resources that are out there that are available to the youth. And they can go. And I said, God, I wish, I had some of those resources when was in school. And now you're taking those away. And I remember having my own suicidal thoughts and thinking, I can't. Yeah, it's too much going on. Thank God I'm still here. But the parents and the people and the government officials who are in charge with the protection of children are failing them, are failing them. But you don't hear the politicians screaming about this. You don't hear anything in Washington about this. This is not just a Florida thing. It's happening in Texas. It's happening in Alabama. It's happening in Mississippi. North Carolina did it before Texas, if you need them. Texas got the blueprint from North Carolina. This is also happening in Kansas. This is also happening in, I think, last count, it was like 19 states I saw, 19 or either 19 or 21 states that are passing similar laws, removing protections and rights for our LGBTQ youth. And now you're forcing them to be outed. This is what y'all got going on. This is what y'all got going on. Tabitha says it's angry, it's scary, and it's frustrating. So it's out of control. This is helping. This isn't helping anyone at all. This will create more. This 1.6 million homeless youth per year, and 40% identify as LGBTQIA. We need to get away from the let's think about the kids rhetoric. Policies like this actively harm children. They only care about fetuses after their revenue. After that, their revenues. Yep. It, it's um it's disheartening because they are full throttle into taking us back 100 years. Like this country is full throttle into going back to the 1920s. And if they could, they would go back to the 1820s. Please believe if they could go back to the 1820s and going back to having slavery again, they absolutely would. But they are full throttle and going back to the 1920s. I promise you that. I don't. When I read this kind of stuff, I don't even know. I don't even know what to. Well, I shouldn't say I don't know what to do or say, but I don't know how to speak to the other side because they have such a concerted effort in what they're doing. Like there's no negotiating with the other side. There's no in between. You know, there's no level of compromise for them. There's no level of seeing the other side for them. Consequently, I can't see their side as either. I mean, as vehemently as I might detest some people from the other side, I'm not here for taking resources away from them. I'm not here for taking away rights that they have as human beings. But you know what's so funny, Tabitha? What's so funny is on this very program on my channel, if you go all the way back to 2020, when we first started to look at how they were doing things to Black people, I said, if they are going to so easily take us backwards with Black people, and I said this about a law they were passing in Texas, I remember. You don't think that the LGBTQIA community is next? You don't think that women's rights is next? Sure enough, right after the other, bam, 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 bam. Oh, we could do this to the Blacks. Oh, women's rights. There you go. Oh, LGBTQIA. There you go. Oh, Latinx. You next. Oh, Asian community. Oh, y'all thought y'all was good. Oh, now y'all get some too. But it was okay when it was just the Blacks. Now everybody getting some. Now, if you ain't white, male, and rich, you getting something. And the sad part is, all of the people that aren't white, male, and rich seem to believe that they're not going to be that they're oblivious to this. That like they are inoculated from this. Like they're not going to have to suffer from. Let me know how that works out, because y'all gonna have y'all time too. Y'all gonna have y'all time too. This is happening. This isn't a drill. This isn't like, oh, I think this is happening. And I keep saying people get so distracted by all of these other things and by all of this nonsensical stuff that by the time it's time to do something, it's too late. The laws have already been passed. When it was time for you to be calling your congressmen and state senators and state congressmen and your local politicians, when it was time for you to be put in the groundwork, when it was time for you to be using your platforms to scream out how wrong this was, you were silent. And then when something big and major happens, now you want to scream from the rafters, oh my God, oh my God. When you had the opportunity to do it, you did nothing. And that is what they want. They want to sweep the things under the cloak of darkness and under the rug. And by the time you realize that, oh, it's too late. We already passed that. Oh, you weren't here. Hmm. Which is why you don't hear me saying a goddamn thing about Ukraine. I don't give a shit about what's going over in Ukraine. See, they want to sideline and sidetrack. I don't care what's going on over there in Ukraine. That is not my concern. That is not my issue. We got shit going on right here. We got shit going on right here. But you telling me to go halfway across the country when we got our own children committing suicide and you not helping them. When you got cities still in 2022 trying to displace the black neighborhoods. When you got the entirety of the country still hell bent on the genocide of the black race in this country. But you want me to worry about what the fuck they got going on in Ukraine. I can't be concerned about what's going on over there because we got our own bullshit to worry about over here. But y'all want me to worry about what's going on over there so I can take my eyes off of the fuck shit that y'all got going on. I keep telling y'all, all this going on, but people in positions of power are silent. You don't hear them saying a goddamn thing. You got all this going on, but they are silent. Y'all better get y'all goddamn life in order. Y'all better get y'all life in order. I don't know. I keep saying there is a reckoning coming in this country because the politicians are not truly seeing the groundswell of hatred and anger that is coming from the populace, that is coming from their constituents. The Republican side, they see it and they're tapping into it. The Democratic side are fucking oblivious. There is anger, there is venom, and there is vitriol, even on the Democratic side, because they're allowing these things to come on. And this thing is going to come to a head at some point. If we were doing a case study on another country, we would say that this is the beginnings of some type of civil war or civil unrest that's about to happen within that particular country. We just aren't saying it here because America's so anthropomorphic and they don't want to see themselves as not being the city on the hill. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you what I know. I'm about to get out of here, y'all. That's the politics of it all today. We had a lot going on. We had a lot of sugar spikes today. I'm sorry, y'all, but I like to keep y'all informed of this stuff that's going on. I am going to start as we switch over to Mark. When we switch over to Mark, I am going to start to spotlight. Um, I'll start with like some of the governors and lieutenant governor races and state senators and stuff like that. But I do want to spotlight some of these local races in respective areas. Um, so if you all have people or candidates in your respective areas that you'd like me to spotlight and talk about, send it to my email. Y'all know my email is right there. Send it to my email, and we could do a expose on them and start to um put those people out there to the forefront. Y'all know I'm rooting for everybody black, as long as they're not black presenting, because y'all know some of these black people are not black, they're black presenting and not really black. See Tim Scott, see Terrence, Clarence Thomas. Anyway, um so yeah, when we start to do that, please, if you know local, you have some local races that you're interested in me spotlighting here, let's do that. Because we definitely want to do that and get some people out there. Especially if you have some of these national seats like Senate seats and U.S. Senate seats and U.S. House of Representative seats that we want to spotlight. Do that. Some of these governor races, lieutenant governors races. Judge Regina Chu's terms in 2023. Yep, good. And get her out of there. So a lot, and that's another thing that we need to look at. A lot of these judges are elected to the bench. They ain't get, they don't have a lifetime appointment. They are elected, and some of these people need to get out of here because they're not in it for our best interest at all. Anyway, there's nothing that says we can't have write-in candidates. All right, y'all. I thank y'all for being here for me. Y'all know we love doing the politics of it all over here. I love y'all for being here. As I always say, I love y'all. I love on y'all. Thank you all for being vocal, present, and active. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for any and all contributions that you make to the channel. They are much obliged and much appreciated. Y'all, I'm grateful that y'all come over here and rock with me in our politics stuff. And feel free, if anybody ever wants to come up and talk politics with me, I don't mind. Let's get on here and talk the politics stuff. One day I'm gonna get Tabitha to come up here and talk some politics with me. Or maybe one day me and Tabitha, if she ever gets out the house, we'll go have a cup of coffee one day and we'll talk politics. I'm putting it out there now because Tabitha's in the chat, and I know y'all want me and Tabitha to to sit out and talk politics. Tabitha would be so leery. I probably got more vaccines and boosters than she got right now. But I'm just joking, Tabitha. But yeah, maybe we can sit down one time and talk the politics. Y'all notice how quiet Tabitha done got in the chat now. We see you, Tabitha. We see you. See you. Anyway, thank you for all contributions that you make to the channel. Thank y'all for everything that y'all do. Y'all being active in the chats and doing what y'all do. Thank you, members, for being a member. Thank you, mod squad. I appreciate y'all for being here for me and everything. That's all I got for y'all. Until next time, thank y'all for coming. Y'all drive safely. I'm out.